We're jumping straight into Novo Nordisk today. Everyone is watching the price action. But the real story is the intense battle between maintaining a massive defensive moat and the race for higher efficacy.
Exactly. You're tuned into the Easy Money Show, where we make sense of the market's biggest moves. I'm glad you're with us.
And before we get into the weeds on this one, and trust me, there is a lot to get through, do us a quick favor, subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps us keep the lights on and supports our mission of simplifying this crazy market for you.
So let's set the scene. We're looking at things as of, mid-January 2026, and it's been a wild ride for healthcare. But for the last year, maybe two, the entire story around Novo Nordisk has been just two words: Ozempic and Wegovy.
Oh, absolutely. It felt like you couldn't open a browser, scroll your feed, or even have a normal conversation without hearing those names. It went from just a pharma product to a full-on cultural phenomenon.
It really did.
But we need to get past the headlines, right? Past the celebrity stuff.
Yeah.
We're here to break down the actual financial reality, because the numbers from the last full fiscal cycle are just staggering. I mean, we're talking about an absolute revenue engine. But the question is it sustainable?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? And to answer it, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of what happened in 2024 and 2025. Engine is, almost putting it mildly, the amount of capital flowing through this company is just immense.
Okay, let's stop teasing it. Hit us with the stats. What are we actually looking at here?
All right, let's start with Ozempic. That's their GLP-1 for diabetes, though of course it's used off-label for weight loss too. In the last full roundup, it pulled in $17.5 billion in revenue.
$17.5 billion.
And hold on, that's 26% growth?
26%.
Right, and usually when a product gets that big, when the denominator is that huge, growth slows way down. It's just the law of large numbers.
Yeah, it's hard to keep growing that fast.
Exactly. But Ozempic actually accelerated.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive. It shows the demand wasn't just some flash in the pan. But Ozempic is mostly the diabetes side. What about Wegovy, the weight loss specific one? Because that feels like where the real mania was.
That's where the explosion happened. Wegovy hit $8.4 billion. That is nearly doubling its previous numbers.
Doubling. That's the kind of growth you see in a tiny tech startup, not a pharma giant that's been around for 100 years. You just don't expect a company from the 1920s to move like that.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating here is the market share. As of Q2 2024, which kind of set the stage for where we are now, Novo held a 69% global market share in the GLP-1 space.
69%. I mean, let's be honest, that's not just participating, that's total dominance. You own the whole field at that point.
It's like owning all the railroads and boardwalk.
Right. But doesn't that saturation worry you?
Yeah.
Usually when you own 70% of a market, there's really only one way to go, and that's down.
It's a valid concern. When you're the king of the hill, everybody is gunning for you. But for now, the market itself is expanding so fast that even if their slice of the pie gets a little smaller, the whole pie is just growing exponentially.
And that all translates to company value.
Directly. We're looking at a market cap of 615 billion euros.
Which is just astronomical.
I mean, it makes them one of Europe's most valuable companies. They're not just a big pharma player. They're a cornerstone of the whole European economy. At one point, their market cap was bigger than the entire GDP of Denmark, their home country.
Wow. That's the kind of scale we're talking about.
Yeah.
So they're making money hand over fist. The cash register is just ringing off the hook. But here's where it gets really interesting for investors, especially long-term ones. It's not just about today's sales. It's about protecting that income for tomorrow. We have to talk about the moat.
The moat is critical. For listeners who might be new to this, a moat is just a durable competitive advantage. It's what protects you from competitors. It's the crocodiles in the water around your castle.
And in pharma, your product is only as good as your protection.
Exactly. And Novo has built a pretty high wall. Let's look at the IP first, the legal moat. Ozempic is secured in the U.S. until 2032.
Okay, so break that down. Why is 2032 the magic number? That's, what, 6 years from now?
It means earnings visibility. Investors hate uncertainty more than anything. Knowing you have patent exclusivity for another 6 years on your flagship product, that gives you a level of predictability that's incredibly rare. It means that revenue isn't just going to vanish overnight because a cheap generic hits the market.
Right, so the cash keeps flowing. But, patents are just paper. Lawyers can fight over paper. I'm more interested in the physical moat. What are they actually doing with all that cash to secure their spot?
This is where their war chest strategy comes in. They have this incredibly robust free cash flow. Now, a lot of companies might just, burn that on buybacks to pump the stock
A
price.
quick sugar rush, yeah.
Right. Novo's doing some of that, sure. But the real story is reinvestment.
They're building, putting shells in the ground.
Aggressively. They are pouring billions into supply chain expansions and manufacturing. You have to remember, the biggest problem for the last 2 years hasn't been selling the drug. It's been making enough of it.
Right, the shortages were everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's not like making aspirin where you can just turn up the speed on a conveyor belt. These are biologics, peptides. They have to be made in sterile environments, injected into these complex pens.
The fill-finish process.
Exactly. It's incredibly complex. You can't just spin up a new factory in a month. It takes years. So by reinvesting in their own infrastructure, they're widening that moat. It's not just IP, it's a manufacturing moat.
That's a great point. Even if a competitor has the recipe, if they can't actually cook the meal for millions of people, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. The barrier to entry is billions of dollars high.
Okay, I want to pivot a bit because I think there's a misconception out there. People hear Novo Nordisk and they just think the weight loss company. That's it.
And that's a dangerous oversimplification if you're an investor. Yeah. You're missing the foundation. Historically, this is a diabetes powerhouse. Even with all the obesity headlines, they still have a stable 33.7% value market share in diabetes care. That is the bedrock.
So it's like a table with 4 legs. You've got the fast-growing obesity leg. You've got the rock-solid diabetes leg. What else is there?
Well, they also have a significant presence in hemophilia and growth hormone treatments. These aren't just little side projects. They are substantial business units. So if the obesity market hits a speed bump, the whole company doesn't just fall over. That diversification is key.
Okay, so that's the bull case. The empire of efficacy, sales, patents, factories. Sounds like a slam dunk. Just buy it, go to sleep for 10 years. But come on, this is the easy money show. There is never a perfect stock.
No such thing as a free lunch in the markets. Never.
So let's flip it. Let's talk about the bear case. Because there is a very, very large elephant in the room, and its name is Eli Lilly.
It certainly is. If Novo is the reigning king, Eli Lilly is the challenger with a battering ram at the gate. We have to talk about Mounjaro and Zepbound.
Yeah, I hear those names constantly. It's like Coke and Pepsi or Apple and Android. But break it down to the numbers. Why are they such a threat? Is the drug actually better?
It comes down to one simple word: efficacy. The data doesn't lie. When you look at the trials, Novo's products, Ozempic, Wegovy, they average about 15 to 17% weight loss.
Which is, let's not gloss over that. A few years ago, that was pure science fiction.
Oh, absolutely. It's revolutionary, don't get me wrong. But technology moves fast. And Eli Lilly's competition is hitting numbers up to 21%.
And that's the efficacy gap.
That's the gap. And in a world where consumers and doctors want the best possible result, that 4 to 6% difference is massive. It creates a real risk that superior tech could start to erode that market share.
But does the average person care about that 4%? I mean, is it just splitting hairs?
I think they do. And in the medical world, 4% is a lot. Psychologically, patients want the strongest option. It's a very potent marketing tool for Lilly. They can just say, we have the most effective drug, and that resonates.
And we're already seeing the friction from this, aren't we? It's not just about whose drug is better, it's what they cost. We saw news recently about price cuts. That felt like a turning point.
Yes, that's a critical signal. When a company with that much market share starts cutting prices, it tells you the game has changed. We are entering a phase of competitive pricing wars.
So what does that mean? Is the party over? Because price wars can just destroy your margins. It becomes a race to the bottom.
It's not over, but the easy growth era might be hitting some serious resistance. When you have a monopoly, you set the price. When you have a duopoly, which is what this is becoming, you have to compete. The insurance companies, the payers, they'll play you off each other. Lilly is giving us a discount. What can you do?
And the stock slipped a bit on that news. I know some people saw red and started to panic.
Yeah. Understandable. But if you look at it, it seems more like a psychological consolidation phase than a disaster. The stock had a massive run. It was priced for perfection. A pricing war introduces a variable, so the market has to recalibrate.
Right. It's the market admitting there's a ceiling now called competition.
And the competition isn't just in obesity. We mentioned diversification, but those other areas are under attack too. In hemophilia, Roche is challenging them with a drug called Hemlibra, which is going right up against Novo's Mim8.
And the supply chain issue we called a positive. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It is. If Novo can't make the drug fast enough right now, they're leaving the door wide open. If a patient can't get Wegovy, but the pharmacy has Zepbound, they might switch.
And once you switch, you probably don't come back.
Exactly. So the bear case is really about the fragility of that dominance in the face of better tech and aggressive pricing.
So we have the empire versus the challenger, the moat versus the efficacy gap. Where does that leave us? For everyone listening, let's look at the 2026 roadmap. What should we be watching?
The immediate thing is Q1 2026 earnings. We're expecting those late April, maybe early May.
Okay, and when that report drops, what's the one number you're looking for? And don't say revenue, that's too easy.
It's not the top line. The key metric to watch is market share retention. Specifically, are they keeping that 55+% level?
Why is 55 the magic number?
Because if it dips way below that, it shows the efficacy gap is causing a real structural shift. It means the dam is starting to break. If they hold that line, it proves their moat, their brand, their supply, their insurance coverage is working.
Got it. So retention is key. But what about offense? What's in the pipeline? You can't just play defense forever.
This is where it gets really fascinating. The next frontier for GLP-1s isn't just weight loss. It's what else they can do. We need to look for news on cardiovascular applications and NASH.
And NASH.
Yeah.
That's that liver disease, right? I feel like I'm hearing that acronym everywhere now.
Yes, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. It's a huge unmet medical need, a fatty liver disease that can lead to cirrhosis. There's really no good treatment for it.
So if Novo proves their drugs can treat that, it opens up a whole new market. It's not just a diet drug anymore.
Exactly. It medicalizes the product even further. It changes it from something you take to look good to something you take to save your liver. Insurance companies have a much harder time denying coverage for that.
A huge value unlock.
Massive. And you also need to watch MIM8 in the hemophilia space to see if their diversification is holding up.
Now zoom out for me. What about macro factors? How does the broader economy play into this?
Well, with rate stability, we're seeing a sector rotation into healthcare. Biotech R&D gets more attractive. And stable rates mean cheaper borrowing, which is huge when you're trying to build billion-dollar factories.
Right.
So any news about new factories coming online is a major positive catalyst. It means that supply bottleneck is finally easing.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've got billions in revenue, the patents, the manufacturing push. That's the bull.
And you've got the pricing wars, Lilly's superior drug, and pressure on margins. That's the bear.
So the elevator pitch for the listener, how do you boil it all down?
I would say this. You have a company with a massive moat, an incredible cash flow, but it's facing a technically superior rival. The price cuts you're seeing now. That's a tactical defense. They're taking a margin hit now to keep their customers while their new factories spin up.
It's a chess move. Sacrificing a pawn to save the queen.
Exactly. And the market is huge. There's probably room for two winners like Coke and Pepsi. But the easy days of Novo having the whole field to themselves, those are over.
That's a great way to put it. And before we go, I want to leave everyone with a final thought. We've been talking about diseases. But what if we're moving from treating diseases like diabetes to treating lifestyle infrastructure?
That's the provocative question. If obesity is the root cause of heart disease, liver problems, joint issues, then Novo isn't just selling a drug. They're selling the infrastructure for health.
Right. And if they cement themselves as that foundation, then these price wars are just a blip. The conversation changes from how much does this pill cost to can I afford to live without it?
It becomes a utility for human health, like paying your water bill.
Heavy stuff. Well, that's the lowdown on Novo Nordisk. We hope this helped you cut through the noise and understand the battlefield a little better.
As always, thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next breakdown.
We'll catch you on the next one.